Now, for the continuous improvement system, develop area-specific safety, quality, delivery, cost, morale metrics. So if I'm running a crankcase operation as a business unit leader, what are my metrics for my specific area that I'm measured against? What are my trends? What are my Pareto's? And what are my targets? And is it clearly visible to everyone? It's preferable to have more than one measure per category, although one solid metric will suffice. Just give us a measure on one of these categories. Just give us one. Hard to get more than one. It's hard to get one, yes. Trended periodically, the shorter the frequency, the better. Now, I should clarify that a little bit. We use monthly. I kind of like monthly because this isn't a react to the data thing. This is more, how are we doing as a business? Are we improving? Pareto data for each measure. Develop a target line for each measure. So when you have your goals and objectives or your performance reviews at the end of the year, or you're managing a large organization, wouldn't it be nice not to have to say, I think Mary does a pretty good job. I think Joe's not so good. Wouldn't it be great if it was perfectly tied to the metric? There's no question about where you are as an employee and how well you perform, or as a manager, because the data's there. It's updated every month. It drives the herd. Targets defined by the performance goals of the area manager. That's the term we use. Determine and define who will update and display the data and at what frequency. Make sure you have integrity in the data system. Make sure that if you're posting this for everybody to walk through and see, it's current, it's relevant, it's updated, it's accurate. And the reason that's in there is because that doesn't happen. It's something that rarely happens well, where these things are consistently updated for people. I think I said that. While data provides evidence of a robust continuous improvement system over time and may drive specific initiatives, the measurement system, this is key. This is key. The measurements, and we'll get into this, must not hijack the process and ignore the voice of the process. In other words, if I have SQDCM metrics in the crankcase department, and over here I have my continuous improvement board that's being driven from the people that work the process, I can't say, oh, look at this data point, we need something on the board to fix that. Because if I do that, I've just taken away the authority from the process to drive what they need. And the reality is, all the improvements, none of them relate to the data typically. They're small. You can never take one of these small little initiatives and say, oh, that's going to fix this. You can take the 10,000 initiatives and greatly impact the data, but you can't tie it to the data. You use the data more as a reference to see how you're performing and to ask questions. And sometimes there are some things that can be specifically affected, but you can't take away the right of the people doing the work to drive improvement. That is a real key point there from experience. So this is a painting by Diego Rivera in the Detroit Institute of Arts, From Floor to Ceiling, large mural that goes on and on. This is Henry Ford's Rouge plant. So I just thought I'd throw that up there. I got this picture in my office on the wall. So voice of the process is what we're looking for. We want to make sure that, now I'm sure when this was painted, they had no say whatsoever in anything. We talked about that. But you want to make sure the people that are putting the vehicle together or the product together are the ones who have complete authority to drive the system. Nobody can say no. And we'll get to that, except the plant site manager. Because you got to have a trump card. Boy, I hate using that term. Okay, so define a meeting. These are just some rules around it. Define a meeting location that's central to the operation with the following. Create an SQDCM board with the metrics, and then create a continuous improvement board to display issues from the voice of the process. Not exactly necessary, but we like to capture things in the SQDCM format. So we say this initiative would affect quality, and it would also affect delivery, QD. If this is all put in a database, you have your history of all your improvement, all the things you closed, the things that are open. So you're capturing things around the format that you're using for the metrics. Just so you know, here's 500 things we fixed, small, but they have impact on these categories. So you have issue, corrective action, open date, close date, target date, status, responsibility. There's a board in the lab. You're all familiar with that. You've seen those up, right? This is what you're going to use in each one of your teams. Now we have 6 items on the board. We'll talk about how we want to do this, but your twin team, you may want to get together in consensus and say, we think these are our top 6 problems. Why we can't get parts out, or we have quality issues. What are we going to do, team, to redesign this work or solve this problem to where we can flow product at a much higher rate? And then you will say, we need, this is the issue, we need this, we've opened it on this date, we want to have this complete. When will be a good completion date? Prior to the production run, I would guess, right? Yeah. So, and then who's going to do it? And right now, you see, we kind of didn't really do this properly, right? Team. So I'm going to say, hey, team. And people are going to look around, the ball's going to hit the ground. So you need someone, hey, Joe. Hey, Mary, how are we doing on this one? What do you need? You're speaking for the team. But we have a face, we have a name we can talk to. This is so powerful. I can't stress this enough. We have any of the A3 teams in here? Does this help? Helps quite a bit. You think things would happen if you didn't have it? Wouldn't happen, would it? What did this do to me Saturday? You can speak up. It made me come in and paint the floor with you guys, right? Because I was red and I was embarrassed. It was like, oh, right? So we had to come in and get paint. I had to go Friday night, get paint. We all got together. We painted the floor in the lab. Why? Because it's red and it's embarrassing. You got to fix it. Without this, you think I'd have done that? I promise you I wouldn't have. I'd have meant to, but I wouldn't have. Define recurring meeting schedule. Capture the issues of improvement history in a database. This is really good, especially for a larger organization. Here's our history. OSHA's coming in to review us because we had an incident. We're not happy with your safety program here. Well, look at this. Here's 275 things we solved since last year related to safety, and they're all closed. You want to read them? It's good to have. Or the CEO's coming in for a review. You guys don't care about quality. Well, I know we're not good enough, but why don't we go through the database? We can show you the initiatives that came from the floor that we resolved that are closed relative to quality. It's really good to have this history. And it's also good for the workforce to show, hey, we're supporting you in what you want. We're fixing problems. Rules of operation. This is really key too. Very key. Attendance. Plant manager must attend the review. So if I go to a company, little company, and I say, you need to go to every review. And they go, well, I'm kind of busy. Well, then don't waste my time. And you're not going to be successful. I'm just telling you. It's my experience. This isn't going to work. Because then people can avoid responsibility. When they know you're standing there and everybody in the organization is mapped to improvement and they've got to explain where they are, trust me, the herd will move. If you decide that this isn't important for you, you can go do other things, whatever they are that are important. And Bob used to say, I have nothing better to do than this. So that was a Bob threat, by the way, but yes.
There's no closing date in this picture.
There should be a close date in the picture, yes. Good point. We don't have a close date on those? Well, we'll reformat them for you. Excellent, good. Responsible person assigned corrective action must attend. Supervisor must attend along with operators effective if possible. So you have people that said, we need this fixed, it's affecting my job, we have a machining problem, I want that on the board, I have authority. That never goes away. Never goes away unless the plant manager says, I'm removing it, the trump card. Now the organization must take care of this. So that person should, if we can get them free from the process, have them attend the review, that's good. Authority. Employee that works the process, adds or removes items and negotiates target date but retains ultimate authority for dates and the issue status. Now think about that. Right? The person that puts the parts together has more authority than anyone in the entire plant except the plant manager. That's crazy, isn't it? Essentially, that's the process. You're giving the process authority. You're trusting the people that work it. And if the people that work it can't be trusted, you do have a plant manager that says, look, you don't need another drinking fountain. We're wiping that one off. That rarely happens, by the way. People adapt to this very well, and you can trust them. Only the plant site manager can remove an issue. Responsible parties should negotiate dates that allow management of their overall responsibility, but they negotiate with the employee. So the one thing you'll see every time this goes, we put this in 3, 4, 5 times. Every time it happens, people go, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do all these things that people are telling us to do with the resource I have. They always do it. They do it every time. So you say to them as a manager, why did you agree to the date? Everybody. Look, why don't you just put it out another month? Why'd you do that? Now, the person working the process might argue or debate it with you, but you agreed to the date. You can manage your resource from that. The reality is I don't want to fix it. I don't want to be told what I have to do, and I'm too busy. But you'll see them start squirming, and this is great. When you see the support organization wringing their hands and squirming, as a manager, you've got something great. Because you're deploying that support to the process, and they're uncomfortable with it. Trust me, it's good. Reviews SQDCM metrics, 5 minutes. Team leader employee talk to open issues, 2 minutes. Responsible party discusses progress towards close date, 2 minutes. Total time, 15, 20 minutes for all issues. So at Chrysler, we had 30-some boards, and Bob visited every single one of them. Now, he had them scheduled across 2 months, but he went to every one of them. So, of course, myself and my manager, we'd be running out to the floor and said, are you okay with the one that you had up here on the board? And you'd go, well, you know, I told them nobody's brought the parts yet for me. Okay, well, let me see what we can do. Why? Because they know Bob's coming to this board. And Bob will come up to you and hug you. He'll love you. And he'll kill us if we don't get you what you want. Right? So we're running around scrambling, making sure the people that work the process get everything they need. Now, again, as long as this method's understood, you don't need the tyrant. Right? People can manage the process if they understand it. It works well otherwise. We moved it to Continental, where we made airplane engines, and we're not Bob. We couldn't behave that way. And it worked great. Yes?
Just because you're talking about employee involvement, when you have these meetings where you're deciding what goes on the board, and you know that the employees have problems, typically if they're like working the line or something, they're not attending these meetings.
Oh, yeah, we're not putting things on the board. The employees are.
Well, like, are they a part of the meeting? Are you aware of the problem?
Well, at Chrysler they were, because we had a team leader structure. Okay. And so they usually were available. At Continental, sometimes. But it didn't really affect them because they could say, hey, they'd say, I'm having trouble with my job because. And we would typically say, well, good luck with that. And look at it for a minute, and they go, oh, okay. What that meant was put it on the board. Because if you don't put it there, it's just random whether anybody's going to take care of it for you. So we kept teaching them to do that. Well, they own the board. They put their items on the board. If somebody wants clarification, they go up and say, well, what did you mean by that? Let's talk. But it was their item, and they logged it, and it would be taken care of. But obviously, there's discussion about it. But it's a good question.
Answer the question, though, and Tom's right, there's all different levels of employee involvement in these programs, but the ones that are successful are the ones that make the employee available to be part of the solution team and part of the process. Those that come in and say, yeah, we listen to our employees all the time, and we take all of their initiatives, and we give them to engineering, and they go fix them.
Well, see, and with that, even without involvement, that can't happen, right? Because you work the process, you put your issue on the board, you talk to somebody because they got to give you a date. You put the date on the board, you own the board. If somebody walked up, I mean, at Chrysler, if somebody walked up and changed verbiage on the board, they put themselves at great risk because they're not supposed to touch it. It's not theirs. And that was made real clear to us. So if they log the issue, it's going to get fixed. There's no way around it. And somebody's going to have to come to the operator and say, we don't understand. What is it you mean? So they really genuinely have true authority. It's scary for a manufacturing operation to do that. It almost sounds like communism or something, doesn't it? Anyway, employee update status in the database on the board between meetings. Now, this was at Continental. Here's a scrap review for the entire operation. There's a target line for scrap, the actual, and target actual, what do I got on here? And budget. So we can see how we're performing. This was a director of mine in one shop. There were 2 areas that had a director. Their 2 scores added up to my score. And this is a business unit leader that's running fuel and subassembly. And all the business unit leaders under this guy all add up to his score. So everything cascaded, and it all rolled up to a plant level. So at the end of the year, there should be no surprise whether we performed or didn't perform. Obviously, there's discretion there, because sometimes your targets are aggressive, right? And as you can see from Passarelli, how well he's doing, you can now see why I'm here teaching at Auburn. That's a joke, by the way. I hope. But cascaded goals are great. So here's our SQDCM board, feeding our continuous improvement board. But remember, I don't say, what are we doing about this issue? I don't see it on the board. We don't say that because the issues that are being solved at the floor level are small, and they usually don't relate to the data. You have faith and trust that if the organization's driving improvement, your metrics will improve. Doesn't mean you can't ask. You can ask, because sometimes there are issues that are real clear. It may be that engineering has a project they need to implement, and you can ask those questions. But you have the data that's relevant, and you have the process to drive out waste in the operation, and you've given it to the most appropriate people to give it to, the people who have the stethoscope on process that can hear it. They know what's wrong. Nobody else does. So I can't come to your team. I can't go to cell 1 and go, I think I know why you failed. It's probably because of this, so I'm going to do this. That'd just be ridiculous, because I don't have the experience that you have. So you must grant the authority to the process level and trust it and support that. And this is the way to do it. So this was our database. These are closed items, green. These are red items behind, by name, not by department. So we can ask people about that. This is time-based. That's why you have all this behind schedule and nothing open. But this told us what was behind, what was open, what had been closed by department. So you can review how your operation's supporting continuous improvement with it. Overall plant status. Rolling up 10 boards from 10 different areas. Driving improvement in the organization. So we're not just saying, hey, Kaizen's great. Let's work with people to improve. There's a structure. Very well-defined structure. Now we had some students here. Anybody know Hugh Smith? Wow, we forget so quick. Anyway, Hugh, he's out at Raytheon, I think now? Intel. They developed this process and made it electronic. And this thing's really great. We implemented it at a beer company. What's the one up in Gadsden? Backlordy? Yeah. And we're trying to do this at other companies. But one problem with this is a great way to do this because it's on everybody's desktop and you can see the status of the whole organization. And it's programmed around these rules. Problem is, people don't necessarily want to use this. It's not the format that's the problem. It's the whole system of giving authority to the process. People are really frightened to do that. They don't respect the employees enough to trust them to make a decision. They don't tell you that, but you kind of know that's what it is. This was our schedule at Continental. So we had all these departments and we had them scheduled across the month so that they were all reviewed on a regular basis. And look, and this wasn't because of SESIC, we had a safety board that was separate. We care. So remember, these are the 2 tenets, continuous improvement and respect for people. That's what drives this. We respect people, so we grant the authority to the people who know process better than anyone else. They know every reason why they fail. Give them authority and support what they want. Have a structure in it that does it.